Welcome to part 3 of this Football Manager 2016 experiment featuring Australia and New Zealand, and you join me here for the 2062 World Cup semi-final between New Zealand and Australia. Wow, amazing. They've finally got somewhere in this experiment. It's taken, 50 odd years to get here, but they're facing each other in a semi-final with the chance to face Brazil in the final, who defeated Argentina in the other semi-final. It's a shame they had to draw each other in the semi, but at least it guarantees one of them a place in the World Cup final. And I'm going to show you the goal, show you the game. I've decided to attend this one. I decided to just continue to the start of the 2062 World Cup and then just press continue, rather than holidaying through to see if that had an impact on their chances. And it actually, I don't know if this is just pure damn luck, but they have actually been very successful in this World Cup. But first of all, I'm going to show you what's happened in the last 3 World Cups since part 1 and 2. So make sure you check out part 1 and 2 first if you haven't watched that yet, so you know what the hell is going on in this experiment. But let's have a look at the 2050, 54 and 58 World Cups. You can see there, Spain won it in 2050, beating Argentina. Then Germany beat Portugal in 2054. And then Belgium beat Argentina in 2058. We'll go to Australia first to see how they got on in those 3 World Cups. You can see they're actually first in the world rankings going into this World Cup. They've done incredibly well in recent years. Unfortunately, they weren't successful in winning a World Cup in the last 3, but they have a very good chance this time around. You can see they've managed to win the Asian Nations Cup in 2055. But World Cup wise, you can see 2050 they got to the quarter-final, lost against Spain. They actually managed to finish 4th in the 2054 World Cup, so this is their second semi-final in the World Cup. Can they go one better? Perhaps one better would be 3rd. Can they go 2 better and finish 2nd? Can they go 3 better, finish 1st? We'll see. The last World Cup they actually failed quite miserably, finishing 3rd in their group, so that was a bit disappointing. But they have managed to finish 4th in one World Cup already in this 3rd part. And New Zealand all the way up to 13th after getting through to the semi-final stages of the World Cup. This is the highest they've been throughout the whole experiment. I have changed some things, I'll tell you in a second, but you can see here they didn't qualify for the 2050 World Cup. They finished 3rd in Group G in 2054, but they did actually get through to the 2nd round of the 2058 World Cup. One better than Australia, but they did lose on penalties. Now, what I have done in this 3rd part is I decided to completely throw everything at it, and I improved the reputation of every club in the top division of New Zealand and Australia. Unfortunately, that's quite soon diminished, apart from Southern, who've stayed quite high. I maxed it out to 9,999. 999, yeah, that's right, 9,999 anyway. But most of the clubs have declined. Southern have done really well. They've been dominant in the New Zealand Premiership recently. I also gave each club lots and lots of money. I gave them all £100 million. And I once again improved the facilities to 20 on everything. Now, for example, this team, they've gone downhill. Their finances have completely been destroyed. I also made every single New Zealand team professional just to make sure they were up there. But unfortunately for Auckland City FC, it's not really gone to plan for them. Let's look at another team just to see. They've still got quite a bit of money. They are professional. They've still got a sugar daddy. I gave every club a sugar daddy as well. Now, I did that for both New Zealand and Australia to make it fair, and it seems to have worked. Both nations have done a bit better. They're producing players that are pretty good. This is the New Zealand team going into this World Cup semi-final. Their best player, Matt Bell, 28 years old, a world-class player, truly world-class. Plays for Man United. He's played for PSG as well. He may have even won. He was in World Team of the Year for 2062. Footballer of the Year, World Golden Ball. I don't think we've seen any Australians or New Zealanders, is that the correct word for that? Feature in this, unfortunately. But I think this guy's quite close. This is one of the best players we've seen, if not the best player we've seen from either Australia or New Zealand. Australia, obviously, first in the world rankings, doing very, very well. Their clubs have, their reputation and that sort of thing has stayed a bit more intact than New Zealand since the changes. Their best player is Simon Evans, centre-back, 180 current ability. So their best player is actually worse than New Zealand's best player. So this is crunch time. The first match we're seeing in this experiment. I don't really show matches in these experiments. I did when I managed Indonesia way back when. But this is the teams. New Zealand playing a 4-1-2-2-1, you know, 4-3-3 effectively with wingers. Australia going for a classic 4-4-2. Interesting. Now, Bell is the player to watch out for in the New Zealand team. Martin's done very well as well. I think he scored 4 goals. In fact, I haven't actually shown the group stages or anything yet. So I'll show you the group stages. You can see New Zealand second in their group, going through with Argentina after winning 2 draws. Australia, top of their group, 9 points. They won every single game. Plus 10 goal difference, dominated a group. To be fair, it was a bit of an easier group, I would say. Second round, New Zealand beat Italy 2-0, very good win. And Australia, where are they? They beat Spain 1-0, so incredible win for Australia to defeat Spain there. Quarter final, New Zealand completely demolished Mexico 4-0, what a win. Peter Martin, the striker, this is what I'm on about. 4 goals in that game. And Australia, 3-2 win against France. Really, really good win. Ryan McNamara, player to watch out for up front for Australia, should get the goals. And then, that's how they got through to the semi-final. You can see Ryan McNamara and Peter Martin, joint top scorers with 6 goals. Matt Bell, top average rating. He's been insane. So let's get on with this match. Let's see what both teams can do here. I'm excited for this. I am. Wow, you guys, you Australians and New Zealanders watching this must be excited. Probably a bit nervous as well that your team's going to get embarrassed. And Australia take the lead. Violi with the goal. Jake Violi, or Violi, whatever you want to pronounce, however you want to pronounce it. McNamara with a killer ball. And Mine at the back, it wasn't his, was it? That ball was not his. He probably shouted mine. And it didn't quite work for him. So it's 1-0 to Australia. And here go New Zealand. Can they immediately get back into this? No. Here go Australia on the counter-attack. McNamara, Brosk. Oh, lovely ball. And it should have been a second. And it's the second half. It's still 1-0 to Australia. Not many chances in this game. You can see a 57% possession, but only 5 shots for New Zealand. Can they get back into this semi-final? The furthest they've been, Australia have experience of getting through to a World Cup semi-final, remember. And, was that a penalty? It wasn't. Maybe controversial there. Here's Jones for New Zealand. That is a penalty. This is their chance to get back into this. Up steps Martin, joint top scorer. It's saved by the Australian goalkeeper. Peter Martin. He didn't have enough Weetabix for breakfast, I reckon. That was a crucial save by Spiragli in goal for Australia. And this could be a pretty dull 1-0 win to Australia, but could be job done. You know, that's what it's all about. Only a few minutes to go. It looks like it's all over for New Zealand after that penalty miss. And it's a free kick to Australia, surely to end this game. And that's the final whistle. It's all over after a penalty miss from Peter. Was it Pete? What's his name? Peter Martin, that's his name. And what a shame. But we're going to watch Australia against Brazil in the World Cup final. New Zealand finished 4th. Another penalty miss, this time from one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, Matt Bell. Missed a penalty in the 4th minute. Argentina went on to finish 3rd. Unfortunate for New Zealand, but a very good World Cup for them. It's promising. It's encouraging. And I will be holidaying quite a few years after this point in this video to see how both New Zealand and Australia get on in the future after this World Cup. On a side note, I look bloody awful now. I'm 70 years old. I've still got brown hair, vibrant brown hair, but look at my face. It's gone all horrible. I don't know what happens when you get to a certain age. I wonder if you just turn into a skeleton. Guess we'll find out. Anyway, World Cup final time. Brazil versus Australia. Who are the favourites? Favourites are Brazil, despite Australia being first in the world rankings. But obviously Brazil have all that experience, don't they? When did Brazil last win in the World Cup? I can't remember on this experiment when it was the last time. Brazil playing really defensive. Look at that. 4-2-2-2. Come on, Australia. Come on, guys. I'm sure perhaps you New Zealand people now watching this, even though you lost in the semi-final, would you support Australia in this position? I don't know. Maybe it would be quite hard to. Anyway, here we go. Let's see what Australia can do with an early attack from Brosk. Is this going to be an early highlight? Probably not. So weird watching a match from a neutral point of view on FM when you just have no control. You can't do anything about it. It's been a very tight first half. Brazil have had more possession and more shots. Australia holding on. and now it's the second half. That was a boring half of football. In fact, all the last 3 games have all been boring. 1-0, 1-0, and now this could be another boring, low-scoring game. Oh, Brazil have brought someone on called Pele. This is boring. I didn't pay good money to get into this World Cup final and see a boring 0-0 draw, but that's what I've seen. It's gone to extra time. It's the most boring World Cup final ever. Come on, Australia. Show some spirit. Free kick. Oh, that is so close from Violi. So unlucky. Corner to Australia. Come on, guys. Get your kangaroos out. Here we go. And it's wide. I'm still alive. It's literally 2 highlights in this game. I would say this would be last on match of the day, but it's the World Cup final. It's gone to penalties. Come on, Australia. Brazil 1-0 up. This is nerve-wracking, I'm sure, for you Australians watching. It's like a real World Cup final. It's 1-1, 2-1. Violi. Oh no, he's missed. He beat the keeper but sent it over the bar. Pele. Great save by the keeper. Up steps Coin. Scores. Confident penalty from him. Kanu for Brazil. Oh, it's another great save by Sparagli. Come on, Sparagli. Austin. Oh, it's in. 1 left to go each. The chance for glory beckons. Come on, Sparagli. End it now. Oh, it's a missed. Australia are world champions. Unbelievable. We've finally seen a nation win the World Cup on this experiment without me having to take control as manager. It was the most boring game ever, but who cares? Australia, finally, someone has won it. At last. At last. So, I'm going to be holidaying another couple of decades, I guess, and we'll see how Australia do long term and see if New Zealand can get one back on Australia, perhaps go on and win a World Cup. Let's find out. So I've holidayed through to 2094. This is where we're going to end it. Let's have a look to see if Australia have added to their one World Cup or New Zealand have miraculously managed to win a World Cup. Let's see. Wow. New Zealand have won the 2094 World Cup, beating Germany 1-0 in the final. Alex Fleming with the winning goal. Let's have a look at this. The goal that won New Zealand their first ever World Cup to equalise with Australia in terms of World Cup victories. Amazing. Well, I'm pleased that both of them have managed to do this. We've finally got somewhere in these experiments where we've seen a country, Australia and New Zealand, win the World Cup without me having to take control and manage them. And that's the first time it has happened. Unbelievable. Australia won it in 2062, beating Brazil on penalties. New Zealand won it in 2094, beating Germany 1-0 in the final. Not much else going on since then. New Zealand did actually finish third, though, in 2066. So, in a way, you could argue they've been more successful than Australia. Australia did get through to a third place playoff, as did New Zealand. They finished fourth. Australia finished fourth, but New Zealand have finished first and third. Interesting. Let me know in the comment section below who you think has been the most successful team. Who you think is... Obviously, Australia have been towards the top of the world rankings for many, many years. More so than New Zealand, who... Let's see where they are. They're actually 13th in the world. They were down in 61st until the World Cup, and suddenly, boom! Wow, so they go into the World Cup in 61st place effectively. They come away in 13th after winning the World Cup against all odds. Incredible stuff. Let's just look at the national team. They've got they've got a lot of incredible players. I did once again boost both Australia and New Zealand and boosted some of the teams again back in the 2060s, and it seems to have worked a bit. I've done the same as what I did before, but New Zealand have produced a golden generation of players. Chris Higgins, Alex Fleming, Paul Simmons there, Oliver Jones and Tim Young. Mixture of positions. They've all got very good current ability. It's the first time we've had 5 players over 180, I think. There's only ever been 1 or 2 at a time, but that's what happens with this. Finally, at one point, New Zealand have managed to produce a golden glut of players. So let's see how they've done in the recent World Cups as well as other competitions. So since that 2062 one where they finished 4th, they've actually only qualified for 5 World Cups since then. They finished third in the World Cup after that. So they finished fourth, then third. Then they finished, they had a number of years, 16 years without even getting to the World Cup. In 2082, 86 and 90, they failed in the group stages. Suddenly all these players come through. Perfect timing, ahead of the 2094 World Cup. Let's just look at their journey in this 2094 World Cup. You can see Iran and South Africa qualifying. Switzerland, Argentina. New Zealand actually qualified in second place from their group. They must have lost against Brazil. Australia didn't even qualify. Very unlucky. How close is that group? Costa Rica and Ivory Coast going through instead of them. Second round then, New Zealand destroy France 3-0. Alex Fleming, second top scorer, by the way, you can see there. Assists, Chris Higgins, 7. What a player, world-class winger. Quarter-final, New Zealand defeat Iran 2-0. And then semi-final, they beat Mexico 3-2. Mexico have done very well on this. And then obviously the final, that 1-0 win. So what else have they won recently? Let's have a look. Honours. So Confederations Cup, runners-up a couple of times. In fact, quite a few times you can see there in recent years since the last update. 2061, 73, 85, 89, 89 and 93. They were runners-up. Really unlucky not to win the Confederations Cup. Australia, the best they've managed, is actually third place a few times. So they finished third 2045, 69 and 81. But New Zealand have been really good. It's a real surprise. I'm sure most of you thought Australia would be the better team by a long way. And arguably they have been. They've always been higher in the world rankings. They've regularly been top 10. They've consistently been top 10, top 20. New Zealand have really varied between, 100th up to quite high. I think the highest they've been is third. If we have a look here, you can see their rankings by year, and they've been pretty low from, they were 5th in 2066 when they finished third in the World Cup. But look at this. They're all the way down in 40th, 60th place, 62nd in September 2093, a year before, 9 months before they won the World Cup. And they go on and win the World Cup. That is incredible. It really is. Those are the records in terms of top goal scorers if you're interested. Joel Smith, overall top goal scorer, 120 goals in 164 games for New Zealand. Remarkable from him. So clubs then, what's been going on in the New Zealand Premiership lately? You can see Southern's dominance has ended. They were dominant for many, many years, you can see here. Numerous titles they won in a row. But they haven't won it since 2078. Canterbury United won it a couple of times, but Team Wellington have been completely dominant the last few years. Like I said, I did boost all the teams once again back in the 60s in terms of finances. Let's look at Team Wellington then, just to see how well they sustained their finances and that sort of thing. They've still got a lot of money, they've still got a sugar daddy, facilities are very good, so that's why they're at the top of their game, whereas other teams may have dropped off. Maybe a team like Southern have now dropped off a bit. Let's see. Finance is still pretty good, but they're now semi-professional. That's the first time I've seen them semi-professional for decades. They've been professional. They've managed to sustain their professional status for many years, but they've completely dropped off lately, which is a bit of a surprise, really. As you can see here, Australia are actually above New Zealand in the world rankings. Australia have underperformed at times on this. They possibly should have won another World Cup. They should have done better than New Zealand with all the players they've produced. They've produced better players. They've done a lot better. They've got a better competition, top league in terms of reputation, but they've been held back. They did win that World Cup against Brazil, amazing stuff, but New Zealand in recent years, they finished second in the Confederations Cup numerous times, and they've won the World Cup finally. Amazing stuff from them. They've both done really well. Australia and New Zealand have both done really well, we have to admit that. Better than I expected. But just take a quick look at the Oceania Champions League. I've looked at the Asian Champions League. We'll have a look at that again in a few minutes. But you can see New Zealand teams have completely dominated, as you would expect them to in this sort of environment. I don't think it's never not been. I think it's always been a New Zealand team winning the Oceania Champions League. Hamilton Wanderers, they're from New Zealand, aren't they? Yes. So they've just completely dominated. So Australia then. 6th in the world. They've consistently been inside the top 20. As I said, I think they've managed to finish first a couple of times. Looking at their records, rankings wise, they've been first. Quite a few years they have been first, but they've only won the World Cup once, and they haven't been massively successful in the other ones as well. You can see top goal scorer Sam Graham, we can't look at him, 101 goals for Australia. There he is in 2047, getting 23 goals in that year. They've been very successful in producing players. Competitions wise then, that one World Cup, 2062, they've won the Asian Nations Cup quite a few times, you can see there. It's been mixed between South Korea, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Japan, the teams you'd probably expect to be winning it. Confederations Cup, they finished third 3 times on this experiment. New Zealand finished second 5 times. I'm surprised how well they've done in the Confederations Cup, but Australia, little bit disappointing. I think they qualified for every single World Cup though, so perhaps you could say Australia the most successful team in terms of dominating world football. They haven't quite dominated world football, but in terms of they've got to every single World Cup without fail. New Zealand probably only got to half of them, if that, but when they've actually got there, they've been a bit more clinical than Australia. You can see since that World Cup win, they lost in the quarterfinals, then they finished in the group stages 3 times in a row. Second round, group stage, quarterfinal, group stage. So yeah, they've only reached 2 semi-finals. One time they finished 4th, the other time they went on to win it. Looking at the players, they've got 3 players over 180 current ability. They've got very, very good players, you can see there. Perhaps not quite as strong as New Zealand at the moment. So the Hyundai A-League, which has always had a better reputation than New Zealand, they've got 10 professional clubs in there. I've given them more money as well in the 60s as well, trying to boost them again. It hasn't quite worked for them, just like it did for New Zealand. Let's have a look at the history. These are the past winners of the Hyundai A-League. You can see Central Coast Mariners doing particularly well in the last few years. Newcastle Jets went through a period of winning it at one point back in the 30s, but there's not been a dominant team in Australia, just like there was in New Zealand with Southern and now a new team coming through. Wellington Phoenix been quite successful, but Central Coast Mariners certainly stand out in the last 20 years. The Asian Champions League then, I haven't looked at this for a while. I don't think we'd seen an Australian team win it before sort of 2030, but since then I think Melbourne Victory, the first team, 2031, Newcastle Jets have won it. We just go up slowly. Perth Glory, Adelaide United, Sydney FC, Newcastle Jets again and Adelaide United, Central Coast Mariners, Newcastle Jets, Sydney FC again, Perth Glory, Sydney FC, Perth Glory. So recent years Australia have featured heavily in the Asian Champions League. I'm interested to see if there's been any Australians or New Zealanders winning World Player of the Year. So I'm just going to go down. Now there's not an easy way, I don't think there's a way of just selecting by nationality, so it's a question of going up and having a look. Now I've looked prior to this point and there weren't any. There we go, 2063, Matt Bell. I remember that name from the 2062 World Cup final. He's still actually here. He's now 58, but 33 goals in 137 games for New Zealand. Played for Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man United, sorry, and he won World Player of the Year, so well done to him. Sam Smith, Real Madrid player. And second place Matt Bell there as well. Matt Bell won it again in 2066, and Charlie Probert it was third place at 34 years old. There's Matt Bell again, second place. Second place still in 2068 at the age of 35. And that's it, so only New Zealand players featured in this, no Australian. So I think we'll end it there, guys. It's been a fascinating experiment. It's brilliant to see Australia and New Zealand both manage to win World Cups, because I was thinking, is there much point doing this ever again? Because we're not really getting anywhere. It's a similar pattern every single time. I've promised to do the Nordic countries. I will be doing that, and also probably home nations as well at some point, sort of Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, see if they can managed to defeat England. Let me know in the comment section below who you think was the better side overall. Australia won their first World Cup out of these two teams. They also were always higher in the world rankings, if you believe that sort of thing. Both of them produced amazing players. New Zealand produced world-class players that actually managed to win World Player of the Year. Australia didn't. They did produce world-class players, but no one managed to win that accolade. New Zealand also more successful in terms of a third place finish and a first place finish at the World Cup, more successful in the Confederations Cup. But it's up to you. Let me know who you think was the better country. Don't start a fight in the comment section, please. We don't want that. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed this mini-series. That would be great. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Check out my other videos. That'd be much appreciated. Until next time, guys, enjoy Football Manager 2016.